What is the link between dairy and prostate cancer? Have you ever wondered that? Well, in this video, which is gonna be part of a multi-video series on dairy and prostate cancer, we're gonna focus on the effects of eating dairy on getting prostate cancer, okay? So the risk of getting prostate cancer. And in future videos, we're gonna talk about what if you already have prostate cancer? Does it make it worse? So you can subscribe and hit the notification button if you wanna get those as soon as they're released. But let's dive right in. Will eating dairy increase the risk of getting prostate cancer? In a nutshell, yes, it does. We're gonna find out why, and we're gonna find out how much is the risk. Why does eating dairy increase the risk of prostate cancer? We have multiple studies to show a direct link between consuming more dairy and the increase of prostate cancer risk, so risk of getting prostate cancer. Why might that be the case? Is it the calcium? I'm sure you have been told that you should eat dairy. And when I say dairy, I mean cheese, milk, yogurt, because it is high in protein and it contains calcium, which is protective for your bones, right? You don't want to get something like osteoporosis, right? And actually a lot of men with prostate cancer on androgen deprivation therapy, so hormone therapy, are told to consume much more dairy because they need extra calcium, because ADT, the hormone therapy, causes bone breakdown, which I have to say is really bad advice. Okay? I will make another video to show why the calcium in dairy can actually contribute to bone breakdown. How crazy is that? At this stage, I want to invite you to leave a comment and tell us, have you changed anything regarding your consumption of dairy in terms of prostate cancer? Have you felt better after giving away dairy, or is dairy something that is staple in your diet? Please share with us. What are your thoughts around dairy? For now, let's focus on the topic of the video. Is eating dairy, what in dairy causes increased risk of prostate cancer? Well, one theory is that the calcium in dairy, the form of calcium in dairy actually is very acidic, okay? Whereas the calcium in plants is not acidic. On top of that, excess calcium can actually capture and disable, let's say in simple terms, vitamin D. And we know that vitamin D is very protective against getting prostate cancer. So that's one mechanism. A second mechanism is IGF-1. Now that is a growth stimulus that is contained in animal products that we also produce in our body, and it's great for building muscle, but you should only eat things that increase growth and growth of proteins, growth of cells around your workout, okay? So anything that can stimulate that hormone a little bit more should be eaten strategically. In Western societies, we consume animal products which are very, as we call it, anabolic, so they stimulate protein synthesis and growth all the time, and excessively, too much. So our body is in constant overproduction, overdrive, okay? And that, of course, increases the risk of getting cancer, not just prostate cancer, any cancer, like nothing else, okay? So that's another mechanism, the growth factor in animal products. Now, on top of that, modern farming practices actually give hormones to the animals. And where do those hormones end up being? In the fat tissue and also in fluids like milk. Okay, milk is designed to be very anabolic, very stimulating of growth, because it is meant to grow a small animal into a large one very, 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 very quickly. Now, on top of that, we give a lot of growth stimulants to the animals, and they get accumulated in the milk. So we constantly, when we eat dairy on a regular basis, we constantly force our body to grow, our cells to grow and multiply and divide. That ages us faster, and that increases the risk of cancer. I've got yet another mechanism for you. The next mechanism is estrogen. Commercial cow's milk especially contains a lot of estrogen, which is, again, supposed to help a small animal develop, but that also contributes to prostate cancer risk. Now you might think, just wait a second. I thought testosterone increases prostate cancer risk. Does estrogen increase prostate cancer risk as well? I'm gonna cover that in a future video, but you might be surprised that yes, any hormone, any sexual hormone, whether it's male or female, increases prostate cancer risk. And that is why beer, which is so estrogenic, I don't know who coined the term that beer is a manly drink. It's the most estrogenic food we have, actually. I believe that beer consumption in Western countries contributes greatly to prostate cancer risk. So another mechanism is the hormones, including estrogen in the milk, that increase the risk of prostate cancer. Yet another mechanism is inflammation. Modern farming practices, especially with how little the animals are moving, all the inflammatory foods they're eating, and all the horrible conditions they live in, no sun, just horrible conditions, these animals have a lot of inflammation, to the point that in some farms they even have pus in the milk. Now, you might think that through pasteurization, so the boiling of the milk and some antibiotics, that might be cured or treated, but it's not the case. We can't just take something super unhealthy, throw it, boil it, give it chemicals and make it somehow healthy. All those things remain in the milk, and all the inflammation that is contained within the milk is absorbed by us. Okay, so it increases our inflammation in the body. Dairy is in general a food that is quite inflammatory, and that chronic inflammation again increases the risk of prostate cancer. Now, I talked about those things in isolation. Now imagine them combined. You might understand that this is very pro-carcinogenic, as they call it. Now, what about different forms of dairy, plant versus non-plant? And what about lactose-free dairy, low-fat? Well, before we dive into that, I wanted to tell you that if you find this video useful, you can buy me one or more coffees to support me using the link in the description. And if you want one-to-one guidance, coaching, and a health professional being there for you, answering all your questions, what to do during prostate cancer and beyond in terms of exercise, physical activity, managing side effects, increasing the effectiveness of your therapies, and living stronger with more control and healthier, you can find me and my website and work with me using the link in the description. When it comes to lactose-free, there's not really that much difference. Milk that is lactose-free is we simply add an enzyme called lactase to break down lactose. But milk that is lactose-free is essential milk. If you take away the lactose, you don't have really that much of a difference. What about whole fat versus low fat? Does it play a role? Yes, it does. And I want to tell you definitely, if you cannot eliminate dairy, definitely prefer low fat or no fat. Okay, there's studies that showed that whole fat dairy products compared to low fat have double the increase of total mortality and also prostate cancer specific mortality. In another study with over 21,000 men, they found that drinking skim or low-fat milk was associated with an increased risk of developing non-aggressive prostate cancer, while whole milk consumption was strongly linked to fatal prostate cancer. So once again, if you cannot completely eliminate dairy from your life and you still need a few more steps to get there, which I can help you with, and you can find me in my link in the description, definitely switch to low or no fat dairy. What about different types of dairy? I've heard that yogurt is good for me, right? Milk is definitely one of the most inflammatory and worst types of dairy you can take. Okay. Cheese is very high in fat, and high fat, especially saturated fat, has been shown again and again to increase prostate cancer risk and growth. So if you have prostate cancer, you eat saturated fat, it increases their growth. It's been shown 1,000,000 times. Now, what about yogurt? There is a protein in dairy called casein. That protein has been linked again and again with an increased risk of getting prostate cancer and increased growth of existing prostate cancer. And what yogurt is basically almost entirely casein and some fat. I'm not saying that you should stop eating yogurt. All that I'm saying in this video is if you can eliminate dairy completely, that's good. What you should try to do is limit to special occasions. Do not have dairy every day. Yogurt, especially Greek yogurt, low fat Greek yogurt or no fat Greek yogurt, can be good for you. Once or twice a week, okay? Especially if you combine it and you make a nice breakfast. Prefer goat's milk and goat products over cow if you cannot do away with dairy. Why? Cows have been over-farmed, okay? So cows, especially in the 80s and 90s, because of the modern farming practices, all the antibiotics they're getting, the inflammation, the growth factors, the hormones they're giving, the proteins in their milk have mutated. So, and that's why we have the milk that is A2. You might have seen it in the supermarket, which is sort of old protein milk that is not mutated. Goats, they have not been farmed as much, and in general they're not animals that are farmed just like cows. They can be farmed in terms of like being in an enclosure, but usually goats need to be out in the sun grazing. So and because there is less demand for goat products, they have not been as farmed intensely as cows. So I would definitely recommend goat dairy over cow dairy. What about non-dairy milk and plant-based dairy products? Is it good? Is it inflammatory? Is it carcinogenic? Is it a processed food? Should I avoid it, or should I change to these types of products? And if yes, which one? Is it soy-based dairy products, coconut milk, almond milk, oat milk, rice milk. What should I do? What should I eat? I need to eat something, right? Well, I'm gonna talk about that in a future video. For now, if you found this video useful, and if you click the like button, it's gonna help spread it to those who might need it and raise awareness. If you wanted to thank me, you can buy me 1 or more coffees using the link in the description. And if you want specific nutrition advice with recipes, exercise, physical activity, lifestyle changes and habits to support you in your prostate cancer journey during and beyond prostate cancer, and you can build health, strength and control, you can work with me one-to-one using the link in the description and let me take the guesswork out of the equation. That's it for this video, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video.